Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for this evening, and I've got a serious question for you. Are you treating your finances like a one night stand or like a long term marriage relationship? This is a serious question. I have all kinds of individuals that I've spoken to recently, and it always comes back to very similar questions. Doesn't matter the walk of life, it doesn't matter where we are, but they want to know, should they do this or should they do this? Is this the best bet for them? And they're always focused. I won't say always, but more than commonly, they're focused on the short term aspect of things. When you're younger, and obviously I know there are individuals that got married very young. My parents got married super young. They've been together for a long time now. My grandparents were together for give or take 56, maybe 60 years. They were together a long time before they each passed away. But if you think about it, when it comes to your money, are you creating that long-term relationship? That doesn't mean that you take your money and you store it, because that's not a good idea either. You take your money and just put it in a shoebox. Today, with the amount of inflation, with everything going on, it's very unlikely that you're going to allow yourself to become wealthy. You're going to allow yourself to have the financial opportunities, the financial freedom, if you just try and stuff your money away into a safe or into a shoebox. But on the flip side, so many individuals are so focused on this weekend, their money comes and goes faster than when they met it. So they never really find out where they're looking to get to. Now, there's different aspects, and I'm going to hit on a couple different things today. When it comes to investing, my wife talks about this all the time. I actually heard her walking somebody through this today. One of the first things that you want to set up, most people are going to tell you an emergency fund. But you all heard me talk about this before. An emergency fund is long-term thinking. Why? Because I don't want to have everything in my life be an emergency. So instead, I'm going to set up an opportunity fund. Don't think about the other OF account people are talking about. We're setting up an opportunity fund because we want to allow ourselves to get ahead. We want to say, if something negative happens in my life, which it does all the time, right? It could be a water heater at the house. It could be something happens with the car. It could be something happens with the dog. It could be something happens with the kid. Heck, you could get sick. This is 2025, right? You could get sick. And do you have the funds set aside, or are you getting sick or something happening with one of your items going to cause you to have even more stress than you already do? And most people have too much stress as it is, right? So having that opportunity fund, that's the first step. That's like you starting the relationship. That's not the first date, but that's you saying, hey, we're going to go on a series of dates. We're going to have a series of conversations, and we're going to see what happens here. To me, the emergency fund is often more so like a one-night stand, because you start putting money in, and as soon as you do, most people take it out and use it for something else. They're not committed to it, so it never becomes an opportunity fund. And when you're talking about your money, having commitment of what you want to achieve is very, very big. How many of you, and I'd love to see you guys put this in the comments for me on Facebook, same thing. You could even message me. How many of you have a time frame on where you want to be financially free? And that means different things to different people. But do you have that time frame that you're going for? If you don't have an opportunity fund right now, do you have a time frame of when you want to get there? So beyond that, I hear people all the time talking about rate of return. And they're so worried about, if I don't get the most rate of return right now, I'm going to be so far behind. Well, what the heck is rate of return? Rate of return is how much your investments are returning you based on the amount of money you put in. And it's simple enough. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but so many people are worried about what happened today. Did the market go up? Did the market go down? Did you see what happened? Did you see what the president just said? Did you see what was tweeted by so-and-so? And if you're a day trader and that is your life, that is your livelihood, then I completely understand. But if you, can't take the market, if you can't see the short term where things happen negative and things happen positive, then maybe focusing on the day-to-day is not the right thing for you. Maybe you do need to do something like a dollar cost averaging while you're putting in money and you're not really paying attention to it. You know that your goal is not today. Your goal is anywhere between 20 and 30 years down the road, maybe even more if you're super young. But the biggest question, are you only worried about the return right now, or are you worried about the long-term return? If you're already a multimillionaire, if you've already got 6 months set aside for your opportunity fund, if you already have different investments, then great. We're having a different conversation. And I'd love to have that conversation. That goes more back to actually my last video where I talked about the asymmetric risk side of things. But if you're saying, hey, I want to get a 7 to 10% return, which is the average, I know over the last 5 years, outside of 2022, the market's done astronomical things. Even with 2022, the overall average has been huge. But so many people are worried about, well, today the market was down. Well, the market's been down across the board because of everything going on. But so many people are only worried about, what is my rate of return today? How much money can I get today? I should go into this next mutual fund. I should go into this next meme coin. I should go into the next thing. So instead of looking at it from a standpoint of, what's this going to do for me to 20, 30 years? And I'm not saying don't be in crypto, so please don't try and misinterpret what I'm saying here. I'm a big advocate of being in crypto. But if you're looking at the rate of return aspect, there's different ways to look at it. Then let me jump into the newest meme coin, because that's not long-term rate of return. That's, can I make money today? That's actually, and I'm going to change this for my own little chart here. Instead of looking at it from a rate of return aspect, because that's over here. What is my long-term rate of return? You're honestly gambling. And I understand that, because you're on this high and this low. You're on this massive roller coaster ride. That to me is that relationship thing. I saw a funny breakdown the other day. It said, guys, all women are a little bit crazy. They're emotional. They're going to go through things. They have times of the month where they're going to act this way and they're going to act that way. Just get used to it. And as they grow as women and you grow on how to react and you don't react, understanding that there's going to be times you're going to have less ups and downs in your relationship, because you're understanding things are going to happen and things are going to change. That's something you got to learn and kind of grow into. But if the only thing you're worried about is, can I get 100% return on my money? Can I throw my money in and be rich tomorrow? That's gambling. If you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, if you're thinking 10, 20, 30 years out, now you're thinking about it like an actual investor. Now you're thinking about the proper rate of return and how do I grow my money? You're making a marriage to this bet, or to this mindset. I shouldn't say bet because we're talking about gambling. You're making a marriage, or you're making a proposal saying, I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with this for the next 20, 30 years. I'm not going to keep switching every single day, hoping that I can get this massive return in one day. That usually doesn't happen. And more often than not, it actually causes you to lose money, which is why so many people go back to the start. So first off, get that opportunity fund. Emergency fund, I understand the concept of it, but so many people make it an emergency because they're always focused on just having enough. Get out ahead. That's your opportunity fund. Down here, don't be gambling with your money. Now you're not giving proper respect to your money, because you don't care if it's gone tomorrow. When I met my wife, I was very blessed, but I also said, this is a woman that I see myself with, not for this weekend. I see myself with this woman long-term. I want to take this the right way. I want to approach this in the proper way. But so many people are looking at their money like it's something that's only going to be around for the weekend. And then you wonder why negative things happen with your money. Now, another aspect, and I just had this conversation with a gentleman today. He's a budding business owner. He's attempting to get bigger and bigger. And he asked me, what do I need? And this is one of our specialties over here. But he said, do I need a term policy, or do I need a permanent policy? And there's different types of permanent policies. I won't get technical today. But I said, well, that depends. I said, are you dating it, or are you looking to be married to this? Well, why would I do one or the other? I said, you can actually do both depending on your situation and depending on the goal. But if I was to break them down separately for you, your term policy is like dating. Your term policy, obviously usually dating is not as long of term as this, but your term policy is anywhere between 1 year to 30 years long. It depends on your goals. It depends on what you're looking for. It is going to be more affordable. It is going to be something that could expire. Now, if you're just doing a one-night stand, that you might go on one date, you might go on 30 dates, right? But if it's not something that you're being serious about, if you're not putting that full attention into it, there's a good chance that it is going to expire as a relationship, because you got to put a lot more work into having a long-term relationship, into having a marriage. Now, a permanent plan, it's going to cost them a little bit more upfront, but the idea is that this is going to last until you're 121 years old. Yeah, I know not everybody gets there, but I did actually just talk to a woman today, and I believe she said her grandmother was like 107. That's up there. So this one is that legacy planning. This is that long-term focus. This is, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my family for the long term. So I'm marrying this, knowing that it's going to be around through what we'll say thick and thin, right? Whether I'm healthy or if I'm not. The other part with that permanent policy is I can build a cash value inside of it that is going to allow me to either have a guaranteed income from it, allow me to leverage it as my own bank. So I'm going to say BYOB, but instead of BY, be your own, bring your own, it's bring your own bank, or be your own bank. So the term policy, that's a short-term mindset again. Emergency fund, short-term mindset. My rate of return today, not the long-term 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year. And believe me, if your money is not making money over 3, 4, 5 years, that's when it's time to recalculate depending on the goal. But if you're looking at it from a 10, 20, 30-year aspect, You can have a bad day. You can have a bad month. Heck, you can have a bad year. The stock market, again, was down back in 2022 by 20, I believe it was actually about 22%. If you go back to 2008, the stock market, S&P specifically, went down 38%. So even the stock market, even the S&P, which Warren Buffett talks about, have bad years, but it's what's the long-term aspect of it. So here I'm committed. I'm committed to building that opportunity fund, and I'm not using it for things that do not fit in the beginning emergencies. And then once I have my 6 months, now anything over that, I'm building it for opportunities, ways to increase my wealth. Over here, I'm only thinking about short term. That's gambling. Over here, I'm thinking long term. A term policy. Again, I'm thinking more short term, and there could be reasons to have this. I have children. My wealth isn't there yet, so I need something that's more affordable. I just bought a house. I want to make sure that's taken care of for the family. But whether it be for the kids, whether it be for myself, if I'm a business owner and I don't want to have to worry about taxes long term, I want to control them instead, then I'm going to think more of that permanent policy, which is more of a long-term commitment, but also with long-term rewards. The last one I would think about, which goes right along with that, is do I want to be in a FIA? Do I want something that's going to give me a guaranteed income, but I'm taking this loss off the table where I can only get the ups of the market, but there's no losses? How many people do you think want to have that long-term commitment and are more comfortable with it if they know they can't lose money? So there's different aspects here. I could even put up here renting versus owning. And too many times I hear people say that their emergency fund is the same thing that they're using for their retirement fund. It can't work that way. We have to separate. We have to differentiate. So I wanted to keep this short and sweet today, but I hope I gave you guys a little bit of clarity, because people all the time ask me about a difference between an emergency fund and, say, a house fund, an emergency fund and an investment fund. The emergency fund usually means I don't have enough money. That's what I see over and over and over again. Once I build that up, now it's an opportunity fund because I'm not stressed every time something happens, and I'm able to keep my focus when things happen and keep my head on the right focus versus being on a swivel, always worried. Over here, I'm not thinking about the long-term play. I'm thinking about today. Too many people only focus on it. I know there's a lot of advisors out here that are going to hate this because they're like, no, if you didn't get a good return today, you need to go to somebody else. If you didn't get a good return today, you need to go to a different investment. Listen, if you're in the S&P 500 and you had a bad day, it happens. I believe the S&P actually finished down today. But it doesn't mean that I take all my money out of the S&P for the rest of my life because it had a bad day. That doesn't make sense. Even Warren Buffett talks about the fact that he loves the S&P 500 because it's been one of the most consistent returns for the last 100 years. Term versus a perm. Neither one of them are better than the other, depending on your goals. This is a short-term mindset. This is right now. This is a long-term mindset. This is looking out for the future. You look at John D. Rockefeller, his family's passed on life insurance for the last 7 generations. John D., who was not born into money, thought about that not from the aspect of himself, but he thought about the fact of how do I make sure that down the lineage, my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandkids still know who I am. So today's biggest message, and this is what I really wanted to hit on because I've had this conversation a lot lately, is are you thinking short-term? And I'll also give you a caveat here. I can start with a term policy and I can convert it to a permanent plan down the road when I'm ready. So I'm not making that long-term commitment. Let's be real. When you met your spouse, did you get married the first day? I mean, I know there's shows like that. We're not talking about that crazy stuff right now. For most of you, did you get married the day you met your spouse? No, you went on a few dates. You got to know each other. So that's kind of like a term policy over here. And then you're moving or you're maturing into a permanent policy. When I start saving money, it always goes out the door when I'm young. Why? Because I don't understand the concept of building wealth. I don't understand the concept of having money, paying myself first and setting it aside and not touching it, even if there's something going on this weekend. Because guess what? I'm now almost 40 years old. I know that there's something going on, especially here in South Florida. Can we guys agree with that? Almost every single weekend, there's something going on here. So there's always a way for you to spend more money. But until you actually build up that muscle, and this is something my wife helped me with, until you build up that muscle to always have money set aside, you're always going to have a way to spend it. You have to have the self-control. So my biggest recommendation is, depending on where you are, if you're still sitting there with the emergency fund and it keeps building up a little bit and then it's gone, work on that muscle. It's just like going to the gym. And I always love to compare this, and this is how I'll close it out. I love to compare it to the gym. If you're going to the gym and you go in and every single time you do something different, this week I do biceps, and I don't show up for a month, and then next month I come in and I only do, deadlifts once a week. And then I come in the next month and I only do back. and then I come in the next month. And so I'm never sticking to a routine. I'm always doing different things. I'm always bouncing around. I'm never going to get the results that I'm looking for until I stick to something. When I stick to it, that's where I create that relationship. That's where I have that marriage and I get the results that I was actually looking for. So depending on your goals, depending on what you're looking for, these are different mindsets to kind of have a shift in. Instead of being short term always, what's the long term play? I understand that I can throw money into crypto on a great day and I pick the right coin and things happen. I know I can throw it into the market, have a great day and something happened. There's the right tweet or whatever it was, and I got lucky. Now I think everything that I'm going to do, I'm going to make money on. That's not how the wealthy continue to build more wealth. And we wonder why so many of us are stuck in the rat race or stuck in the feeling of every time I do something, I go back to zero. If you have the right people in your corner, if you're learning the right language and you have the right mindset and you're not focused on the short-term game only, but you're actually focused on the long-term, you're focused on marrying your finances and not letting her just run away this weekend, that's where you're going to really change not only your feeling about money, but you're going to change the perception of everybody around you because they're going to want to follow you. I hope you guys got value from this. Please do me a favor. Click the follow button or subscribe button here on YouTube. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Facebook, and please share this because I want more individuals to better understand how their money works and how to get ahead. But have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.